Joining me on the channel today is Prerna Pickett, author of the YA novel If You Only Knew. It's about a boy recently released from jail and the daughter of a prosecutor who fall for each other against all odds, and it's out now from Swoon Reads. Welcome, Prerna.
Hi.
And I always like to start at the beginning and explore your journey to having your book published. What kind of kid were you?
I was definitely one of those kids that was more in my head than I was like in the present. I was talkative around people I was comfortable with, but more an introvert when new situations. I have always had a really big imagination, always made up stories in my head. So I was in my own little world, doodled a lot on papers because I was just my mind wandered a lot.
Definitely in class, like drawing your characters, definitely a common trait among writers, it seems like. And
Yeah.
what sort of books were you interested in when you were growing up?
I loved anything with a little bit of magic. One of my favorite books that really got me back into reading was Ella Enchanted,
Mm.
and so I love just fairy tales and happy endings and that little bit of sweetness. As I got older, I got more into contemporary, Sarah Dessen, and I was still really heavily into fantasy as well with the series called The Daughter of the Forest. It's the Heir of the Seven Waters trilogy by Juliette Marillier, and I was just kind of all over. There were different books that were like gateway books for me when I was a child, so I love a little bit of everything.
And what was your path from being a reader to wanting to become a writer yourself?
Oh man, so I didn't think. I mean, I used to tell my parents when I was growing up that I wanted to be an author, but it was one of those only like famous people get to be actual writers. Like that's not something that I can actually do. But I still, wrote in my head and wrote stories here and there. It wasn't until I was in college that I attempted to write my first novel just because I thought, why not? And it was a horrible experience because it was so bad. And I just said, I think I was 18 and I decided I'm never going to do this again. This is terrible. What was I thinking? But then after I was pregnant with my second child, I decided to do it again after reading Twilight.
Aw.
And that was a book I was like, okay, I think I can do this. And I gave it a go and I kept going. And it took over 10 years for me to get my publishing contract for If You Only Knew. So it's been a while.
But honestly, I mean, that sounds like a lot of time, but that's kind of what I'm finding with everyone I'm talking to. It takes 10 years to, get your craft to where it needs to be, and also just make the right connection between the right agent or the right editor that
Mhm.
finds your book. Yeah, your experience seems really, really common. And something I saw on your Twitter was you said that just because you're published, it doesn't mean like your perfection of your craft has stopped. Like you keep on growing as a writer, right?
Yes,
Have,
absolutely.
have you found that? And what have you kind of been like working on growing for yourself?
Wow. So I'm trying to be better about plotting. That's definitely something I was not good at in the beginning. I was definitely a pantser, and I just wrote whatever I was feeling like writing. I didn't know what was going on. I just did it. I've been reading some more books about writing, which kind of helped me to get into the right mindset and give me some pointers on where to start because sometimes I don't know where to start. I think that I have like a character in my head, but what do they want? What does this character need? And I have to go from there. And plotting has helped me figure that stuff out. And I feel like we are always working on making ourselves better. And so even though I think, oh, my characterizations are good, but they could be better. My dialogue is good, but it could be better. I always want to be better. That's my goal, is to continue to become a better writer.
Yeah, definitely. What craft books are you, or what writing books are you reading right now, or
So
would
I
you recommend?
Save the Cat is the one that I've enjoyed the most. It definitely um, helped me figure out like the acts, like the first act, third, second act, third act, and like how you should set up your plot and when things should be happening, because sometimes there's a little lull, and sometimes when you're reading a book it kind of gets a little bit slower, so it helped me
Mhm.
to help with my pacing a lot. And it just gave me a better idea of like a mapping out a
Yeah,
book.
definitely. That's totally a good one. So tell us about the day that you found out your book was going to be published.
Okay, so this was back in, I think it was February of 2018. I had put my book up on Swoon Reads. Swoon Reads is an imprint of Macmillan, and
Mhm.
they take unsolicited manuscripts on their website. You can upload it onto their website, and then readers get to rate it and leave back feedback, and and then that's how you get the editor's attention, is
Mm.
interested readers are in your manuscript. And I had put mine up that the previous August, and I'd sort of just forgotten about it, and I honestly didn't want to think about it at all until I got the email from my editor, and she said that she wanted to talk and that Swoon was interested in publishing my book.
That's
And
awesome.
yes, I was terrified. I remember calling my husband, and he thought I had been working out because I was like out of breath because my heart was beating so fast. I was like freaking out, and I said, "No, this is what's going on. I got a publishing offer," and he was so excited. Then he took off part of the morning off the next day so I could talk on the phone with my editor and the team without my children interrupting me. But it was very exciting.
That's so awesome. And we love to hear like a non-traditional path to getting published. That's so great that Swoon Reads does that. And what is a misconception that you had about publishing prior to becoming a debut author that's now changed?
Oof. I honestly felt like I've been around long enough that I knew what to expect. The thing that I really want people to understand is rejection is absolutely normal, even after you're published. That
Yes,
there's nothing wrong with you. There's nothing wrong with your writing or your book. It's a business, and sometimes it can be painful, but you keep going, and you're not a failure for getting a rejection.
definitely. And pitch your book. Tell us about it. What makes it awesome?
So, If You Only Knew is about a boy, Corey, who is in a gang and recently released from jail and ends up falling for the daughter of the prosecutor who put him away, and who happens to ride a motorcycle. And there's some kissing, and there's some cute puppies, and there's some danger and secrets, and it's a lot of fun.
Love it. And what's your favorite step, drafting or revising?
I definitely feel like I love and hate all parts of writing. So I don't think I have a favorite part, but there are parts that I really love about the process. Like for drafting, I love getting to know the characters and figuring out who they are and what they want, and it's exciting, and I get to know you. Period. And then revising, it's fun, like adding in those neat little facts that I've figured out while drafting.
And I think you answered this already, but are you an introvert or an extrovert?
I am an introverted extrovert. I enjoy settings where there's lots of groups of people, as long as I know one or two people. But I also enjoy being by myself. So a little bit of both.
Yeah, you can turn it on when it's needed. But
Yeah.
yeah, it sounds like you get your power and your energy from being by yourself. And
Yeah.
as a writer, are you a perfectionist or a chaos artist?
It depends on the day, honestly. Sometimes it's absolute chaos. I have 5 kids, so I just have to like get something done as fast as possible before there's insanity. And other days, I take my time, and I want to make sure this one chapter is perfect, and go through it over and over and over again, trying to get it perfectly correct and right, or which is impossible. There's no such thing as perfect. But yeah, it honestly just depends on what kind of day I'm having, where I am mentally, and where my life is at. So
Definitely. And do you have a huge ego or are you humble and demure?
Ooh, I don't think I have a huge ego. I don't know. I don't think there's anything wrong with having a big ego and being confident. I definitely feel like I have a ways to go still in my career. So I think I'm humble because I don't think I'm like hot stuff or anything. But yeah, probably humble.
And are you a morning writer or an evening writer?
I definitely am a morning writer because by the evening, there's my husband comes home from work and we're, dinner and family time. So in the mornings, I get up and I usually work out and then I'm kind of riding that high and then I'll write for a couple of hours. And my kids also tend to be better about keeping themselves busy in the morning than in the afternoon.
Got it. And are you a plotter or a pantser?
I used to be a pantser, like I mentioned before, but I've definitely gotten better at plotting. But I don't. I know some people take plotting to an extreme, and they will plot like 16 pages. I like to have just a rough outline for myself, and that tends to help me. So yeah, I'm somewhere in between.
And I think I have a feeling how you're going to answer this, but do you write the character first or the plot first?
Definitely the character. I have to get a character's voice in my head. I have to hear them and know what they're searching for before I can get the plot down. That's for me. It's always comes down to character.
And what revision suggestion have you gotten along the way that was most helpful for your book?
I think the thing that helped me the most was knowing that it didn't have to be perfect all the time. And for me, I get really stuck up on the little things, but I have to remind myself, okay, it's okay. It doesn't have to be perfect. And sometimes, and revisions process, the revision, getting feedback from a reader or a chief partner is really important to the revision process. So I definitely recommend getting someone else to read your work because that will help you, especially when you're stuck on little things.
And was there ever a point along your publishing journey where you worried, maybe even like when you were drafting or when it was up on Swoon Reads, where you were worried that your book would never be published?
Absolutely, like all the time. That's the feeling I get with every single book that I write. It's like maybe this will never see a bookshelf. Who knows? But this industry, it's so unpredictable. So yeah, there's always that doubt that kind of lurks in the back of your head. And Swin Reads was like my last ditch effort in getting this
Mhm.
book published. I had had interest from agents, and I got into a couple of like I got into Pitch Wars
Mm.
and then one of the online pitch fests, and but it never panned out into anything more. And so I just thought I had a couple of author friends who had really good experiences with them, so I thought, why not? Let's do this. The rejection is the worst thing that can happen, and I'm already used to it.
Yeah.
So I just put it up, and so I was pleasantly surprised that it got picked up.
Wow. That's awesome. And that, there's lots of different ways to go about getting published. And like, definitely, I hope that people who are reading or who are watching this who have gotten maybe rejected by agents, like, don't let that make you think that your book is bad just because an agent hasn't connected with it.
Yes,
I'm
and
trying to
there's so
say.
many. Yeah, and I hate that. Like, I couldn't connect the voice because you don't necessarily know what that means, and what agent or editor doesn't connect with, another one will. And my agent, I remember recently saying, all it takes is one yes.
Yes,
So that's
exactly.
important to keep in mind.
Would you ever like to be famous?
I don't know if I would, just because I like to have my life to be in my own little world without there being outside forces that are kind of like getting in. But I also think there's different layers of fame, right? So, like, I'm not sure who.
Like
Oh, I
low
just
key famous?
like. I'm not sure where I would like to be, and that I would just like to keep writing books. If I get to keep writing books, and if that's fame, then I'm happy with that.
And if you could wake up tomorrow having gained any one non-supernatural quality or ability, what would it be?
Okay, so I thought about this one because I was um, uh, for a while, but I think that what I would love is to be able to draft a book in 1 month or less. Like that would be great. The ability to just draft, just churn them out like that fast. And I can do it
Yeah.
like once a year. I can write a draft in less than a month, but I cannot do it more than that. But if I could do it all the time, I would love
Like
that.
12 books a year, just like
Yes,
Daniel Steele. Like,
yes, exactly.
and what are you working on right now?
I have a couple different projects. I have a book that I just finished that was a rom-com, kind of a fake relationship, enemies to lovers, a fun book I'm excited about. And then I'm also writing a road trip, a scavenger hunt style book about two best friends and in search of a sort of mythical concert that takes place near town. And so I'm really excited about that one too.
Love it. Well, thank you so much for being on the channel. It was so great talking to you. And everyone, the buy links are down below. Check out Prerna's book, and her website and social media are all linked down below. Thank you again so much, Prerna.
Thank you for having me.